Hello everyone, very nice to see you once again in this online session. Hope you all remember we have started revising the chapter number 5, periodic classification of elements. Last week we had started with the revision of this chapter. In the first revision we had done in detail about Daubernia's triads, your Newland's law of octaves, and then we were doing Menlu's periodic table. Okay, and in today's session I'll just first revise the salient features of modern periodic table, and then we will proceed further to the questions pertaining to Menlu's periodic table, and then we'll proceed further. Okay, let's begin revising the features of modern periodic table. This is the image that is of your modern periodic table which we are using at present, right? There are totally 118 elements present. Okay, so this is the image of the modern periodic table which we are using right now. So Menlu's periodic table formed the base for forming this modern periodic table. Let's now discuss the salient features of your modern periodic table. In modern periodic table, the elements are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic numbers. See, right from the beginning, we saw Daubernia's triads, we saw Newland's law of octaves, right? Newland's periodic table. Then we had seen Menlu's periodic table. In all these periodic tables, the elements were arranged in the increasing order of their atomic masses. But modern periodic table, the elements are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic numbers. And this modern periodic table has 7 periods and 18 groups. This idea was given by Menlu. He was the first one to talk about the concept of arranging the elements possessing similar chemical properties under one group, right? So I've given a sample here that your group number begins from 1 and ends with 18, and your period number begins with 1 and ends with 7. Then, in your modern periodic table, the elements are placed in periods based on the number of shells in their atoms. That means what? As the period number increases, the number of shells will also increase. So first period elements will have only 1 shell. Second period elements will have 2 shells. Third period elements will have 3 shells. It's like that. I've given example here. See, first period, you have only 2 elements. What are they? Hydrogen and helium. So what's the atomic number of hydrogen? 1. So how many electrons it will have? Only 1 electron. What is the atomic number of helium? 2. So how many electrons it's going to have? 2 electrons. So obviously they both will have only 1 shell. Why? The capacity of the first shell is to hold 2 electrons. Therefore helium will also have only 1 shell. Then your second period, the elements are lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. They all have 2 shells around them. See, let's now, for example, let's take the atomic number of lithium. Lithium atomic number is 3. So what will be the electronic configuration? 2, 1, right? Let's go to the last element of your second period, that is neon. Its atomic number is what? 10. So what will be the electronic configuration? 2, 8. Understood? So the capacity of the second shell is to hold 8 electrons. Therefore, even if its atomic number is going to be 10, when you are talking about electronic configuration, the first shell can hold 2 electrons, second shell can hold 8 electrons. Therefore, its electronic configuration will be 2, 8, therefore it will have only 2 shells. So you can say, as the period number increases, the number of shells will also keep increasing. Next. Then, you should know when you are talking about your periodic table, which is the shortest period, which is the longest period, which is an incomplete period, those things should be very, very clear to you. The shortest period is the first period. Why? Because it has got only 2 elements. What are they? Hydrogen and helium. The longest period is your 6th period. It begins with cesium and ends with radon. And why is it called as the longest period? You know, in 6th period only you have this lanthanides, right? So lanthanides, when we were doing this lesson itself, I told you the lanthanide series and actinide series are placed separately at the bottom of the periodic table. Lanthanide series atomic number begins with 57 and ends with 71. So the first element here is lanthanum, right? La stands for lanthanum, and your 71 is lutetium, that is Lu, right? Lutetium. So Lu. So it begins with La and ends with Lu, 57 to 71. In between these, it's given here, see. So in between, these elements are not shown, but they are shown separately below the periodic table. So this is supposed to be the longest period. Shortest period is your first period with 2 elements. Longest period is your 6th period with lanthanide series present in it. And in lanthanide series, the number begins with 57 and ends with 71. First element is lanthanum and the last element is lutetium. They are shown separately down below the table. Next. Your 7th period is the incomplete period, and in your 7th period only you have your actinide series here. It's given, see, actinide series. So the atomic number of actinide series, remember actinide series, the atomic number begins with 89 and ends with 103. So the first element is actinium, ACTINIUM, and your last element is Lawrencium, LR. See, now you have to know what is the nature of the elements present under group number 1, 2, 17 and 18. This much if you learn, that's sufficient. Group number 1 consists of your alkali metals. Group number 2 consists of alkaline earth metals. Your group number 17 consists of halogens, and your group number 18 is called as zero group. Why is it called as zero group? These elements which are coming under group number 18, this helium, neon, argon, xenon, krypton, they have complete outermost shell. They don't share any electron. They don't lose or gain. Understood? So they are said to be zero group element because their valency is 0. They will not take part in any chemical reaction. Next comes, this is very, very important. You may be asked as a short note also. In modern periodic table, there are 4 blocks. What are they? S block, P block, D block, F block. But when you look into the periodic table, it will be seen as S, D, P, F. But we say it as SPDF. Understood? But here you should remember, under S block, group number 1 and 2 will come. Under D block, you will have 3 to 12. Group number 3 to 12. And your P block will have group number 13 to 18. And your F block consists of lanthanide and actinide series. You should remember that. Okay. So the S block consists of 2 groups, that is group number 1 and 2. And what is present in your group number 1 and 2? Alkali metals and alkaline earth metals. The P block consists of elements belonging to the group 13 to 18. And the speciality about the P block is that it consists of all types of elements, metals, non-metals as well as metalloids. Your group number 3 to 12, which is in the center of the periodic table, belongs to D block. And your F block, it's placed separately at the bottom of the periodic table, and it has got lanthanides and actinides. These lanthanides and actinides are supposed to be the inner transition elements. When you are asked to write a short note on the blocks that are seen in the modern periodic table, very simple. The modern periodic table has got 4 blocks. What are they? S, P, D, F. You are telling it as S, P, D, and F. But when you are writing the groups found under that block, S block, it's group number 1 and 2. P block, your extreme right of your periodic table. So group number 13 to 18. What is the speciality of the periodic table? It consists of all metals, non-metals and metalloids. Metalloids are separated from metals and non-metal by a zigzag line. We'll see that later. D block, which is in the center of the periodic table, has elements belonging to group number 3 to 12. And your F block consists of inner transition elements. What are inner transition elements? That lanthanide and actinide series, which are found in between, right? So that is found in your bottom of the periodic table. Next, as I told you now, there are totally 118 elements present in your modern periodic table, known to us, you can say like that. Out of these, about 91 elements are metals, and the others are a combination of non-metals or metalloids. These non-metals and metalloids especially, they are separated by a zigzag line in your periodic table. Here in the image, whatever is given here, the green color boxes, whatever the elements that are present inside that green color box are all metalloids. What are they? Boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, tellurium, polonium, astatine. Please by heart metalloids, the name of metalloids: boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, tellurium, polonium and astatine. Please learn it along with their symbols. Okay, about 91 elements are metals. Remaining are a combination of non-metals or metalloids. They are found in the extreme end of your periodic table, and these metalloids are separated by a zigzag line from metals and non-metals in your periodic table to the extreme right of your periodic table, right? Okay, now we'll start revising the question. I've given few more questions based on Mendeleev's periodic table. I've done, you must have found similar answers to different form of question, but you look at the question, understand the question. Questions will be of different format. The answer may sound similar, but understand the question and accordingly you have to answer. A few such questions, these questions had come in the previous year's papers. Why was Mendeleev's periodic table to be so successful? Why? Because you can give any point that he was the first one to come up with the concept of arranging the elements in groups and periods. He organized the elements in particular order, but that means the element possessing similar properties were all put under one group. Like that, you can give many points. You see how the answer is given here. The reason Mendeleev became the leader of the pack was probably because he not only showed how the elements could be organized, but he used his periodic table to propose that some of the elements whose behavior did not agree with his predictions must have had their atomic weights measured incorrectly. You remember in the last class when we were talking about the merits, that time it was told he was the first one when he had started arranging the elements having similar properties under one particular group. He had come out with some problems. He could not put them in the proper order because of their atomic masses. In that case, he has to do some corrections. Okay, then so that was one of his success. So anything which is considered as a positive point of Mendeleev's periodic table can be written under successful cause of Mendeleev's periodic table even. What were the two factors by which Mendeleev was guided while classifying the then known elements? While classifying the then known elements, Mendeleev was guided by arranging in increasing order of atomic mass. The elements were arranged in the increasing order of their atomic masses, and the grouping of elements with similar properties were done. Elements of one particular group possess similar properties. The same question was given in a different form in the last revision. You just see, understand the question, and accordingly you have to modify your answer and write, but meaning should be the same. Next question. This is a common question which had come in 2-3 years of paper, repeatedly asked. Use Mendeleev's periodic table to predict the formulae of the oxides of the following elements: K, potassium; C, carbon; aluminium, Al; Si, silicon; Ba, barium. So the oxide of these elements will be K2O, CO2, Al2O3, SiO2 and barium oxide, BaO. Why do you think the noble gases are placed in a separate group? Noble gases are chemically inert and are present in very less amounts in your atmosphere. Therefore, owing to their similar inert behavior and similar electronic configuration, they are zero group elements. Their outermost shell is totally completed. They are justified to be placed in a separate group. State two limitations of Mendeleev's periodic table. Any two limitations you can write, but I have listed out possible limitations of Mendeleev's periodic table. Depending on the question asked, you have to pick up the points and write. Few limitations which are given here are: elements with large differences in properties were included in the same group. For example, hard metals like copper and silver were included along with soft metals like sodium and potassium. No proper position could be given to the element hydrogen because they possess the property of halogens even, right? Then the increasing order of the atomic mass was not strictly followed throughout. For example, that cobalt and nickel, according to the atomic mass, nickel should come first and cobalt should come next. That was done while teaching the same lesson, right? And isotopes, he did not think, and he did not say that these elements are having different masses. Atomic masses means they should have been given different places, okay, but that was not done. So these were the limitations of Mendeleev's periodic table. Okay, so with this we are coming to an end. So thank you all for listening, and keep revising the lesson again and again. In the last session also I had given few questions. Please go through those questions and learn them thoroughly, and learn the questions which are given in this in today's session even, and also read your book, the content which is given in your textbook thoroughly. Okay, take care, have a nice day, bye.